Great. Okay. Well, I'm coming back at you with another
Mhm.
question.
Oh, God.
When we interviewed Gabriela Parfait, incredible
Mhm.
Brazilian coffee producer and importer and all-round wonderful person, she said something which really resonated with me. She said that your buying power is a weapon, and it really stuck with me because I think that that's something that I like hold true. I like to buy things from companies that have the same ethics and values as me, but buying local, independent, not buying too much stuff, buying stuff that's quality, that will last. All of these kind of things are like really important to me. For example, just a little shout out to Umishizo, because I've got my Umishizo mug today.
Yes,
Repping all the
you
queer brands
can.
on this podcast. We love Umishizo and their beautiful gay spoons and big mugs.
Mhm. Mhm.
I know or believe that you feel the same about brands that you buy from. What are your top 3 favorite brands, or artists, or makers?
Is this
Or
like, oh wow, top
yeah.
3? So I think it's worth noting, dear listeners, that I live in a place called Frome, which is in Somerset. We're a tiny little marketplace, and Frome is what I would describe as almost aggressively independent. Like there's one sort of cluster of chain shops, and then apart from that, it's pretty much all independents. So we've got, a bunch of really lovely independent coffee shops. I would like to shout out Projects, Frama, Moo and Two, Rye. They're all local businesses run by like people who live in Frome. And in addition to the coffee offering, they always do something else. So like Frama, he like has artwork there. He sells lots of beans. His wife Grace actually does loads of work related to menstruation. So if you're Frome based, like chat in with Grace. Projects, they are retailers of Girls Who Grow Coffee, and they also sell like really amazing vegan cinnamon buns. And Rye, they do like pizza that will change your life and bread that will change your life. So I think in terms of like wrapping my brands, these might not be universal because I try really to the best of my ability to support local. So maybe what has to happen is that everybody needs to come along to Frome, because you now all want to visit all of these coffee shops that I've just told you about. But in addition to that, Frome is like a really wonderfully creative place. And on the first Sunday of the month, we have an independent market. So it's like local businesses, local makers, and you have to be local to be able to exhibit in the market or sell in the market. And it's a whole host of people. So in particular, would like to shout out Dark Matters, who make vegan brownies. They are like so dense, it does take you about 45 minutes to eat like half. But for me, like absolutely beautiful, especially to share it with like a really nice filter coffee, like a proper juicy coffee with these super dense brownies. Don't even get me started. And then there's also, I hate saying this out loud because I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. So listeners, I apologise. But Omagi, OMAGGI. Listeners, tell me my
Omaji, I think.
pronunciation, please.
Yeah.
They make Omagi, yeah.
Yeah.
For one thing, their branding is absolutely epic. It's beautiful. And for another thing, they make cannoli, and like I can't eat cannoli. I'm vegan, but I buy it every time they have a stand at the festival. I buy it for people I know because the smell alone, and they do t-shirts, so I can wear the t-shirt. It's like a cool lemon. So yeah, I realize I've just done both food ones. Maybe I should do jewelry. If we do a film, this necklace is made by a local jewelry maker, Slab. That's double B, Slab Jewelry. Does loads of like upcycling, and like they're quite expensive pieces, but they will last forever, and they're really cool. They've all kind of got a bit of a like gothic edge. There's lots of like tiny skulls and spikes and moonstone. They generally have a stand at the market, and they also you can buy their stuff through Skull and Dagger, which is a tattoo studio in Frome that also sells like artwork and like big wood carvings, wood prints that are amazing. I've
I've seen you wearing
stumbled
Lucy and
to
Yak clothes, trousers, etc.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, we've got to do a shout out for
Yeah,
Lucy and
suddenly,
Yak.
like, I can't think of anything I buy. Of course. I mean, as proud Queerios, I feel like it's part of my uniform. But Lucy and Yak are fantastic. The clothes last forever. They
Mhm.
always make you feel happy. And do you know what? As a social experiment, wear something Lucy and Yak and tell me that nobody comments on it. Because every single time I have worn either like Lucy and Yak jeans or dungarees or whatever, it makes somebody else happy and they will tell you.
Yeah,
So yeah, I want reports back from people. Tell
yeah,
me about your Lucy and Yak experience.
do it. Leave it in the comments below, as they say.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question that may be more personal, and like obviously we can edit out if you don't feel comfortable answering it. But I did wonder if you would be happy to talk on your experience as like an openly queer person who owns a business and has a child, and how I can only imagine it's difficult to navigate all of these things.
I haven't always been openly queer. I've been. I knew I was bisexual from a very young age, and or thought I was bisexual. I still have a bit of a feeling that sexuality is quite fluid, and I still
Yeah.
haven't really landed on a label, which is why I tend to say that I'm queer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wasn't openly queer for a very long time because I just chose to kind of live the very easy life of a straight woman, and I
Mm.
dated men for most of my life because I was scared of being out and gay and embracing myself. I just kind of created a totally different person and played that role for my whole life, which on another day would probably make me
Mm.
cry. But like I said, I'm in a position where I'm in a pretty good place right now, and I'm so happy that I've got to this point where I actually finally realize who I am, and I am
Yeah.
openly out and proud and happy to
Mm.
be like part of my community, but also to be like a huge ally for it and do everything that I can to like
Yeah.
promote how wonderful our community is. And um in terms of challenges, I suppose I I don't know what my challenges are as a business owner that's queer. I don't know that I really have any. I feel accepted in our community. I don't feel like anyone's treating me differently. In the coffee community, I don't think I'm being treated
Yeah.
differently for based on my sexuality, which is incredibly like privileged position to be in. I know. Yeah. What was the rest of the question?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's open to interpretation because it sounds like really the challenges kind of came before you were
Mm,
out,
yeah.
if you know what I mean. That, like,
Mhm,
because for me, as I say, like, I knew who you were before last year, but like, we actually only really got to know each other last year.
mhm,
And there's always been like, a sense of security that you give out to me as a person who's queer, that
mhm,
it's like a concrete fact, whatever the label you're choosing. It's like, this is why I love the word queer, because for me it feels so open and encompassing of that thing where you're like, I'm fluid, I'm here, I'm all over the place. But there's also like a joy in your queerness as well, like even little things like having the when I think it was the first time I stayed in Manchester with you, and like having the gay chopsticks, and like we got this feedback after extracted development as well, like using the platform of Cut North or extracted development to like advocate for other queer businesses is a very subtle way of having that allyship, but also the specific brands you're celebrating, there's such joy in them now. And perhaps this is, like you say, we're quite lucky in our industry to have this acceptance,
mhm,
because like we are here, the t-shirt you're wearing, there's a real joy in queerness that comes through on it. So perhaps it was a redundant question, but I was initially thinking that like traditional perceptions of being like queer, being a woman, being a parent are all that they are difficult. They're additional tasks on top of being a business owner, which is in itself difficult. So I was
mhm,
wondering if there was an interplay between them that you had found particularly challenging. Like, do you have to assert yourself as a business owner first, more so because you're a woman or because you're queer? And how does that relate to your like role as a parent then? Because it's hard. It's hard to always like have to be on, and now you're managing a much bigger team as well, and then you've got a
Mhm.
child at home, and so it's quite a personal question, really. Like, basically, tell me how your life's going.
Yeah, well, I think in the way that all those things interplay with one another is that they actually support or benefit. Having those challenges benefits my ability to do the other things, because I've constantly
Mm,
is kind of striving to like do to overcome like small challenges, and mostly parenting, to be honest. It's just really hard work, and yeah, and so all of those things kind of inform each other. The more I get better at certain things,
mm,
like there might be some skills I'm learning as a parent that kind of are relatable to like managing a team of people that can like help me, and they sort of interplay in that way. um and we
mm,
as a company, we dropped down to a 4-day week earlier this year. Well, it was the very start of the year, and the reason for that was primarily personal. I'll be honest with you. Like, obviously I wanted to be able to create a company that does a 4-day week. Wonderful, like that's great for my staff. But the reason why I got to that idea was because, hang on a minute, I am struggling here. I need like I need more time in my life to not be at my desk and to
mm.
not be parenting. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I guess I've, because of the way that Cup North has grown sort of quite slowly over the years, I've learned a lot of lessons on the way and been able to kind of
Mm,
grow it in a way now that works really well for me. And I'm in my late 30, well, I'm 38, so I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm able to kind of apply those to the business and to kind of my other challenges. And
mm.
also, I'm a bit of a hard nut. I like things that are hard. I don't make my life easy for myself. Like, that's kind of how I roll,
You don't. That's true.
So
Yeah.
that's part of my
Masochist
character.
or mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you are incredibly hardy. Yeah. Amazing. Perhaps the question should have been then, what would you like to celebrate about your experience as a proud queer business owner with a child? That's the question we should have asked. Let's not focus on the challenges, let's celebrate it. Because yeah, it's remarkable what you've done. And I like, having just come off the back of Birmingham Coffee Festival as well, I can't tell you how many times I said, I can't believe Hannah used to do this on her own. Like,
I
you
don't know.
you do not make your life easy. Like, how you did it, like how your brain could keep all of those thoughts inside, let alone and then turn it into like the amazing festivals that so many people have loved before like the team grew. Just yeah, incredible.
Well, thank you. But just to say that the festivals are so much better now. There's a team of us. They were good before, but they were 100 times better now. So yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I do appreciate
We
that.
do have a very lovely team.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Shout out
thank you
to
for all your
everyone.
work.
Okay, we're bringing it back to the
Okay.
coffee industry a little bit now. So
Okay.
um,
Okay.
uh, probably like most coffee people, in my head, I've got this idea of like my dream cafe. So, when I finally get round to having like a spare 100 grand and the ideal shop, and I've
Yeah.
got time and
Yeah.
all of this, then
And
I've got like
energy.
my dream cafe.
Mm.
It's like in my head. And I had like a night last week where I couldn't get to sleep, and I probably spent about an hour thinking about like the menu and what coffee I'd get and the equipment and
Mm-hmm.
what color I'd paint the walls, what music would be on, all of this like random stuff. It's like, come on, Davis, go to sleep. um, and it got me to thinking that I reckon pretty much, well, maybe not everyone in specialty coffee has this dream, but do you have a dream cafe? And if you do, what is it like?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we are very similar people because this is quite often my like go to sleep technique is
Yeah.
plan my dream coffee shop. Yes, yes, of course I do. And so a running joke in my life is how would you describe Grace? She can make anything a feminist issue. But that's because I believe pretty much that everything is. So I would like,
Mhm.
if I was making a cafe, I would at the core of it like it to be a feminist space. And then with the experiences I've had with endometriosis, my dream cafe is actually Grow and Flow, which would be a specialty coffee shop that celebrates female-owned businesses. So not just the coffee producers, but also, like tea. I'd really love to advocate for more tea, female tea farmers. The soft drinks that I sold, more sort of female and non-binary business owners. And then the space itself, in addition to being a coffee shop, in a dream scenario where I apparently have just all the money and resources and time in the world, I'd really like it to be like an educational and safe space for anybody who wants to know more about menstruating. I'd like to have like free or heavily discounted resources like moon cups, tampons, pads, heat pads. Like as I am doing this talk today, I've got my loyal beaded heat pad that has done me so well, and have those available in the cafe space so that if you were having like a flare up or a cramp, that you could come in and like microwave your little pillow and have like a safe space. And then on top of that, I'd like to be a bit political with it. So I'd when you talk about the decoration, my dream is that all of the chairs would have what looked like blood stains. So that like fear that we all definitely had in our youth of like standing up and being like, oh God, have I bled through my trousers and have I left a mark on the chair? Which like did happen to me at college. I had to like call my mum the one time because I bled through everywhere, and it was just this like at the time felt really, really humiliating experience. And I'd love to just completely flip that and have it that like, the trousers that I wore to work there already looked like I'd bled through them, and that the seats already looked stained with blood. Because really, what are we so afraid of? Like we as the people bleeding have to confront it every time we go to the toilet, and because societally we're told to be like embarrassed and ashamed, and they're called sanitary products, for God's sake, like it's dirty. Like I'd love to just get all of that out and create a space that isn't celebrating periods necessarily, because I think that has a false sort of positivity that also denies you the opportunity to say like, this is hard and I am struggling, but to be honest about the experience of it. So my dream coffee shop would be that. I'd love to have like, like instead of a book club, a like period club where maybe parents could come and learn a bit more about what to expect for their children. There could be like an anonymous Dropbox where people could ask questions, and hopefully we could like line up with local health services who could actually answer them. And yeah, as I say, I think it's like a drink cafe that requires quite a vast number of resources, but that's the concept. And like all the like food, like it would be a very simple menu, but like say you had like donuts that like bled, like jam donuts, cannoli that looked like it had a tampon in, like
I love
make
it.
it all the period things.
Yeah. Loving it. This is a very well thought out concept. You've spent a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights thinking about this one.
I've even got the brand drawn. Like I've got a notebook that's full of it because I'm packing up my house, and I found all of like the designs, and like, oh, you could sell CBD because CBD can really help with flare-ups, and then that was a whole thing. That's why it's Grow and Flow, because I'm a big advocate for CBD. It's reportedly quite a useful sort of product for people who have menstrual pain. So yeah, Grow and Flow. You heard it here, folks.
Oh no, what a concept.
Yeah.
You're going to be adding to Froome's independence.
Do you know what? Anybody listening who, yeah. But anybody who is listening who actually does have the resources to do it, I'm not precious about this idea. Like, if you could do this, do it, because the world needs it. I needed it. Like, my cousin's children need it. My niece's nephews need it. Like, I put this idea out there to better, more talented, more connected people. Make this happen. I'll be your number one patron.
Get in touch now.
Period cafes. What's your dream cafe? Or is this going to
my dream cafe? I'm not sharing my dream cafe concept. In my opinion, it's the best cafe concept ever to grace the earth. So I'm not sharing all my ideas.
Is it a period cafe called Grow and Flow? Is that why you're not sharing it?
Yeah. That's the thing though, isn't it? Because the longer you
Protect those
work in the
ideas.
industry, the more cafes you go to, the more you see what works and what doesn't, and you're like, this is not working. It should be done like this. And I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, and you see how trends change as well. Like things that worked really very well when I first started to get interested in coffee. It was like prime what I call wanky barista era, which we may need to bleep out. But it was that peak, like, like we're gonna tell you off for wanting skinny milk or whatever. And that was like bizarrely, now that was a successful business model for specialty at one point, was like this authoritarian, like, we will tell you how to enjoy this, and we will tell you the TDS even though you don't know what it means, and all of this. Whereas now that wouldn't really, I mean, it certainly wouldn't work where I live, but I think generally wouldn't be hugely successful.
No. I'm glad we're past those days, because that's just the peak of inaccessibility, isn't it, for coffee shops? So, and that's a whole other podcast as well, in my opinion.
Again.
Yeah.
Fragile egos.
Well, I have really enjoyed this hour of chatting and getting to know each other a little bit better, and sharing ourselves with our audience. We'll be back soon with a regular episode of Brewing It Over. If this is the first time you've ever listened to Brewing It Over, then the normal concept is that we invite guests on who have previously spoken at one of our events, and we have a little chat with them, get them to open up about some of their experiences, and then get them to chat a little bit more about their talk that they delivered at the event, and then we close the podcast with a recording of that talk. So it's a really good way to engage with the content from our events. If you don't manage to get to the event, or if you're at the event and you didn't see the talk, then we have these recordings and they're amazing. I've personally really enjoyed the opportunity to revisit the talks, because we're normally busy at the events, we don't get to listen to the content, and we really have some just really what is the word? Is gone, but anyway, knowledgeable folks.
Amazing.
People who know their fields. So it's well worth listening, and we'll be back with our normal format next time. But thank you for listening, and you know where to find Grace and I if you have any questions on anything that we've spoken about today. We're both more than happy to talk more about being part of queer community, being a single parent, and having endometriosis as well. So thanks very much, gang.
Yeah, hit us up. We love it.
Yeah.